Gun Sports Radio is sponsored by Love Radio Network. Welcome to Gun Sports Radio, all about shooting, hunting, self-defense, and more. Now, here are the hosts of Gun Sports Radio, Dave Stahl and Lance Pelkey.
All right, folks, hey, welcome. This is Gun Sports Radio, show 55. Go out and shoot with your friends. Hey, we want you to know that if you can go to gunsportsradio.com, we have a great webpage. Also, facebook.com, gunsportsradio. And we really want to thank Gun Range San Diego as our major sponsor, 7853 Balboa Avenue in San Diego. 10 to 10, 7 days a week, 858-573-1911. Go to thegunrangesandiego.com, thegunrangesandiego.com. And for our special guest right now, we've got Joe Drammissi. He is
board member.
Yeah, board member of San Diego County Gun Owners. You need to check that out. And I couldn't read your handwriting. What is that chicken scratch?
That's chicken scratch.
What are you, a financial guy?
Yeah, that's it.
You're a
numbers.
Joe, what numbers. Talk about
numbers. What is it? That says California handgun roster. I don't know what that first part is.
Yep.
What is it?
Well, it's the approved handgun roster for the state of California. So Joe wrote this amazing blog about it. So we thought we'd have him come on and talk about this. People don't know about it.
Yeah, so it's glad to be here today. It's I'd asked Michael to mention this. I was showing Michael the blog, and I said, "Hey, why don't you talk about that when you're on the show this week?" And he said, "Why don't you go on and talk about it?" So here I am.
Here you are.
So what that is, the California approved handgun roster. For those that don't know what that is, the state maintains a list of handguns that are legal to sell in California. It's been going on since 2001.
What's the website, by the way, for that? Do you
yes, so I'll take a look at the blog on San Diego County Gunowners.com and SDCGO.com. If you read the article, which I urge everybody to read, there's a bunch of links on there that link right to the roster. It links to different analysis and things like that, so you can get all the information. But what happens on the roster is the state has said, okay, if you want to sell handguns in California, you have to submit, manufacturers have to submit 3 handguns to the state. They pay a fee, the state tests them. If the state approves them, then they go on the roster and they're legal to sell in stores. This has been going on since 2001. The effect that it has, though, because of the requirements, they have certain requirements, and really back in 2006, they required a visual loaded chamber indicator on all guns. If guns had it, that's great. If you were a manufacturer and your gun didn't have that, you would have to add that if you want to sell it in California. In 2007, they added, in addition to that, a magazine disconnect so that the gun couldn't fire if the magazine wasn't in it.
Yep.
Again, a lot of guns work just fine that way. Mine, I shoot a Glock 34. It works just fine without the magazine in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you wanted to sell new guns here now, a manufacturer would have to change their gun design to comply with that. But the big thing that happened was back in 2013, they implemented this micro stamp requirement. And what the microstamp said, it said that each gun sold in California, each new gun that they want to sell in California, would have to have a unique ID microstamped in at least 2 places on the gun. And the real bad part of this, the worst part, if there was the worst part, is that when you fire the gun, that microstamped ID had to end up on the shell casing of the round that was fired. Technically, the technology to do this exists, but you can do it on paper, but nobody's really doing it. There really isn't machinery. There isn't capability. Manufacturers are not doing it yet. The effect that this has is guns on this list that are legal to sell in stores in California, that list gets smaller each year. If you look at it right now, if you were to look that up, there's 767 models of handgun that are available in California. And just in 2017, this year alone, we've lost 38 off of that list. In the last 5 years, they've removed 700, I think, and 80 something. So we've lost more than are remaining on that list just in the last 5 years. The effect that this is going to have, if we don't do something about this, is that 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to go in a gun shop and there's going to be maybe 10 new models of handguns alongside of all the old 30-year-old guns that are still available for sale. So that's the effect that this is having. And I thought it was an important thing to take a look at, just because people aren't aware of this. I mean, people might be aware of the list that it exists, but I don't think people are aware of how many guns are dropping off, how rapidly. When they implemented, the year after they implemented the microstamping requirement, 413 guns were taken off the list that year, and nothing's being added to the list. So this is devastating for gun shops, because if you look at this, really, for this allows politicians to say that, we support the Second Amendment. And yes, you can own a gun. You just can't buy it because there's none for sale in any of the stores. The shops can't stay open, so there's no place to buy them. Next year, when they do this thing with the ammunition, you can still have your gun. You just won't be able to buy ammunition, and there won't be any ranges around because nobody can shoot.
Yeah, I think you used an analogy before we started the show.
Yeah, and I wish I could claim this analogy, but Michael was telling me about this, and a friend of his told him, used the analogy of Cuba, where they have where they drive around in the old 50s cars, 50s American cars. That's all they can get. California with handguns is going to quickly become that way, where you won't have, all the guns that you can buy in the store are going to be 30-year-old models. Just looking at the Glocks, I mean, you don't see the Gen 4s, the Gen 5s are coming out. Mine is a Gen 3 technically, and it's the design, I think, is a 19-year-old design or a 20-year-old design. I mean, it works fine, but, if the thing that got me started and made me write this blog post was listening to Michael last week about his vacation, going back to Wisconsin,
right.
And all the guns that they saw in the gun stores, and then thinking about what we have out here. So what people should do, what I'm urging people to do is, first off, go check out the blog article. It's a great article. You'll love it, but there's great information on there. Spread the word. These people do this because nobody knows. I'm going to be shooting a match on Saturday. I'm going to speak at the shooters meeting. There's probably 100 people there. I guarantee most of them will not be aware of this. And these are people that shoot every week. These are not people that have a gun that's been in the garage. I haven't seen it in 10 years. These people shoot every week, and they should know, and they don't. And that's how these laws get passed, and they end up there. So spread the word, share this blog post, put it on your Facebook pages, talk to your representatives when they're in town, and let it be known how you feel, and help us stand up and do something about this, because you're going to see more from San Diego County gun owners. We're going to elevate this up to probably the same level that we're doing, trying to get our CCW rights restored here, and the stuff we're doing to fight Sheriff Gore's policy. We want to get information out. We're going to start trying to get information to the gun shops. So people need to get involved. People need to spread the word. So that's what I would ask you to do.
I'm telling you.
He's
right on the money. He's right on the money. Well, I go around and I talk to a lot of different people. I was over at Trident yesterday, and they were having the hunting school again.
Right.
And everybody in there didn't know anything about San Diego County gun owners, and I said, well, you guys ought to know about it. So as soon as I tell them about it, of course, they clean out all the cards and everything from Trident.
It's great. Yeah.
But, it's, and that's, and you just can't be shy. A lot of times you never know who is a gun owner until you kind of make that slip, and they go, oh, yeah, I shoot. Well, I had a pinup girl. Never mind, Joe. I had a pinup girl on KUSI. Next thing I know, I'm pitching her on joining San Diego County Gun Owners because she goes to P2K because she lives right up close by there. Her and her boyfriend love it up there.
Mm-hmm.
And they never even knew that there was a radio station. Nobody even knew about San Diego County Gun Owners.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, I think that's our job is to, and if somebody says I'm not into guns, then fine. Talk about donuts. I don't care.
Sure. Yeah, and that's everybody's job. I mean, all of us as gun owners, you have to have that responsibility. You got to spread the word out here, and you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that's always bringing it up. But when it comes up, talk to people.
Or even if you're not, you'll know when to bring it up.
Yes,
you'll know when the right time is. And sometimes I do it as a shock factor, just to see what reaction I get. And I've been shocked myself with people saying, "Oh yeah, I shoot."
Yeah.
Really? You shoot?
Well, yesterday we had the ATF night.
ATF night, had a great time.
Gun Range San Diego, and then I was an instructor for that deal. And what amazing time, for everybody to have, and first-time shooters or whatever.
You're instructing now?
But isn't that scary? And so a lot of people don't realize that attended that, just like what Joe's talking about, that, the guns that they can have are turning into dinosaurs.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just won't be able to get this stuff anymore. I saw someone had a MAC-10 there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And a Thompson,
right?
Thompson, an old Thompson,
awesome,
yeah, old Thompson.
Just awesome stuff. Yeah, a single shot, of course.
Well, of course.
So
yeah, wow,
really cool, really good night.
Interesting.
So,
all right, well, San Diego County gun owners, folks. I mean, if you haven't joined, we're talking a measly $10. You can't even get dinner for $10. Well, unless you go to Carl's Jr.
And we were talking before the show, Joe, that 700 and some guns isn't really 700 and some guns, because if it's a SIG and a SIG P226, this one has night sights and this one doesn't, and this one has plastic grips and this one has aluminum grips. Those are 4 different guns. Those counts as 4 different guns.
Yeah, and that's right. And that's if you take a look at the blog article on San Diego County Gun Owners website, there's a link to the Cowguns Foundation. They do a real good analysis on that, but they point that out. And I don't have the exact numbers with me, but a lot of those 767 guns that are on the list are just aesthetic variations of the same gun.
Yeah.
So you really don't have, like Hollywood's saying there, you really
Probably
don't have
30
much of a choice.
30 of them or something.
They can
like
figure
that.
out how to differentiate them by color. They would.
They do.
I'm sure they do. Hey, let's take a quick break before I freak out. Right here on Gun Sports Radio, AM 1170. We are the answer.
AM 1170, The Answer. KCBQ.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio right here on AM 1170, The Answer. I'm Dave.
I'm Lance.
And this segment is brought to you by the good folks at Trident Gunsmithing. www.tridentgunsmithing.com. Tridentgunsmithing.com. You need to check these guys out. I mean, totally amazing company. I was there this last Saturday, and they had a hunting class, and they're making sausage.
Oh, really?
They were
Like summer sausage?
Yeah, well,
That's awesome.
I guess once you shoot it, I guess they're going to teach you now how to
eat it.
Yeah, so they're making sausages.
That's
and
terrific.
They were just having a great old time. So they actually had a sausage stuffing class, which I thought of Joe.
Okay.
But no, Trident Gunsmith, and they've got a special deal on Remington hunting rifles. I wasn't allowed to tell you the price. It was that low. I think they've been listening to Gun Range San Diego, if you want my opinion. But check them out, folks. TridentGunsmithing.com. Go to 858-577-0576.
Great veteran-owned business.
Talk to Juan or Dan or the old guy. Can't
Neil.
think of his name. Neil.
Yeah,
The
Neil's
old
great.
guy. He's the old crotchety
I saw
guy.
him out of uniform.
Did you really?
I didn't recognize him.
Totally freaked out?
Yep.
All right. Hey, we got Mr. Dillon on the line.
How's it going, guys?
Oh,
Dillon,
yeah.
buddy.
By the way, folks, he's now driving a Tesla.
Is he
I'm
really?
not driving a
He
Tesla.
stole it from
Family
his
member
dad.
of mine
He
has a Tesla.
stole it from his dad. His dad has not seen that car in weeks.
I basically got to drive it one time, and now Dave is giving me a hard time saying I own a Tesla.
Dude, I've been to your place twice, and it's been parked out front twice.
And I haven't parked it there. Let's get into why I'm really here, all right?
All right, why are you here, my friend?
Well, Joe did such a good job discussing the handgun roster, and I want to kind of jump off of that and continue the discussion, because I think this is something that, like you guys are saying, not a lot of people know about it, and it is highly important, and people do need to understand how significant these restrictions are. But just to give you guys some additional numbers, so right now, California allows only 30% of the total handgun market that's available in the rest of the United States. So we're literally missing 70% of all handguns offered everywhere else because of this roster requirement. And since 2013, there's been a 50% drop in the models that are available on the roster.
Yeah, that's what Joe was talking about.
Yeah, and to give you an exact number, when we're talking about the variations of colors and different things like that, so essentially you have the same exact gun, just it's green instead of black. You truly only have 97 semi-automatic handguns available in California.
Wow.
That's out of a list of 767, right? There's only truly 90.
You take away the revolvers, and then you narrow down to semi-automatic pistols, which is the most common handgun that people own across the country. And then you account for all the different colors that they consider different models. There's only 97 models available. In California. So that's just ridiculous. So if you ever go into a shop and you're wondering why the selection's low, it's not by choice. It is because the state requires it and restricts it like that. So it is very significant. If you ever go into another state, you will be shocked on all the guns you never knew even existed.
Are we ever going to win this war?
All right, so to get into the more legal aspect of it, there is a challenge, a lawsuit that challenges the constitutionality of the handgun roster. It's Pena v. Lindley. Basically, they just heard oral arguments on this on March 16th, 2017, at the Court of Appeals, so the California Court of Appeals. Basically, the district court judge, so the lowest court, they held that the roster did not violate the Second Amendment because they considered the roster a presumptively lawful condition and qualification for the sale of guns. So basically, in the state's argument, they're saying that, this isn't a prohibition. We're just putting conditions, safety conditions, on what can be sold. They completely ignore the fact that every year more and more models drop off, and soon we will not have semi-automatic guns available in California. That is a fact. Like Joe was saying, he's running a 19, 20-year-old model gun. Sooner or later, Glock is going to stop making Generation 3 Glocks. And then all of those Glocks will drop off the roster because they're not going to pay to have each model on the roster because they have to pay every single year for each model. So it is a ban. It's 100%. And the state's argument is literally as long as one model of semi-automatic handgun is available in California, then the Second Amendment isn't even affected. That's their argument. As long as they can allow for one model of gun, there's no Second Amendment restriction whatsoever.
Yeah, somebody needs to give them the definition of the word infringed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To give people a little scare, so listening to the oral arguments, the state attorney in the case, he said that we have the right is for the Second Amendment right. We do not have the freedom of choice in firearms, and he actually said that, which is absurd. Even the judges that were hearing the case, they made the comments, well, can you do that with religion? Can you say as long as there's one church available, we can ban the rest of them? Or if as long as one book is available, can we ban the rest of those? Those would be considered hugely unconstitutional restrictions on basic fundamental rights. And, Second Amendment is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how the state just tries to compartmentalize that and separate that from everything else. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, these are all rights. They're all equally rights. And it is amazing how they try to nitpick that.
Boy, you definitely have a way of silencing the room. You know that? I swear.
You really have to process it, and you really realize the significance of what they're saying when they make these arguments. It's amazing and shocking.
So what's going to, following the Pena case, when should we see any movement on that, if at all?
Honestly, so the oral arguments were heard in the case, so we're literally just waiting on the decision from the Ninth Circuit. And we don't know when they're going to make that decision. But just if you can go online. I know the Handguns Foundation, they have, sources to the audio for the oral arguments. I encourage everyone, go on there and watch them, listen to them. These are, the attorneys representing the state that are making their arguments for why they are allowed to restrict your rights. If you listen to them, you'll get upset because they are not rational and they're not logical in any way. A good example, I guess, to just another way of showing people the ridiculousness of these laws is, these are supposed to be safety, restrictions, and it's all for our safety. But there's a number of exceptions. So law enforcement. So if you're in law enforcement, you can buy any handgun you want. There's no restriction. You don't have to have a gun that's listed on the roster. Now, why is it safer for a law enforcement officer to have a brown Glock than it is safer for me to have a brown Glock?
And to take that one step further, now let's say a law enforcement officer buys a gun that's not on the roster, right? Because he's, to play the devil's advocate, he's trained and he uses it for a living, so he understands safety better than Joe Schmo civilian, right? Mm-hmm. But guess what? He can turn around and sell that same gun to Joe Schmo civilian without any problem. This whole roster only has to do with selling it through an FFL. So so the guns aren't banned in California. They're just banned to be sold through an FFL. It's an extortion that they put on the gun manufacturers.
It really is. And I kind of touched on it. These manufacturers, they have to pay a fee for each and every handgun they put on the roster. And that, if it's a different color, that's a different handgun. So each gun they put on the roster, they have to pay a different fee every single year. If anything changes, they change anything on the gun whatsoever, they have to resubmit the gun for testing. They have to pay all new fees. They have to submit prototypes, like multiple prototypes of each gun to be tested. They don't get them back. And it's amazing. It truly is. It's an extortion scheme to just get these manufacturers to continually pay to be able to sell their guns in California.
So why do I get this eerie feeling that the rest of the states are just sitting here watching California to see what it's going to take for them to get across what they're trying to do, and that's basically take all the guns away? Do you get that same eerie feeling that the rest of the country's waiting to see what's going to happen?
Well, I'll tell you this. I know there has always been a general mentality of, hey, California's lost, and there's no helping them. But a good example to tell people, hey, even if you're not in California, you can get involved and you need to stay involved, is, Oregon just signed a new bill that allows for gun confiscations, just like our domestic violence restraining orders in California.
Yeah.
Basically, if someone, tells law enforcement or the court, like, hey, I think this guy's a danger to himself, they then have the ability to come into your house and take all your firearms.
Really?
Yeah.
And then you have to prove that you can get them back.
Yeah. You have to then go to court and prove that you are not a threat, as opposed to them proving that you are a threat, which is the normal way due process works in this country. So that started in California, and they just passed that in Oregon. So these things, they catch on and they spread. And so the old mentality of saying, hey, that's another state, that's California, I don't need to pay attention, I don't need to know about these things, that's long gone. You really need to stay up to date on all of these laws, whether you're in the state or not, because eventually they will have an effect on you.
Well, and that's why I said it, because this show happens to air around the world, really, when you come right down to it. So if you're in Tupelo, Mississippi, and you're surrounded by guns, you need to be aware of what's going on in California. We did it with California car emissions. We did everything in here, and now look, all the rest of the states now have to comply. That's my fear. And they're using California as the guinea pig, and they're stupid enough to do it. So that's my concern. So like you say, John, stay alert, stay alert, stay alert. And if anybody needs John's help, Gatsky, Dillon, and Balance, just go to www.cafirearmslaw.com, cafirearmslaw.com, 760-431-9501. John will be more than happy to chat with you. And if you have a question, maybe you don't want to, you want to be anonymous, not a problem, send it to him via that email. And if he likes your question, he'll put it on air. John, as always, thank you very much. Now go out and wash and wax your Tesla.
I got a 64 Ford at home, all right?
Oh, now we're talking.
Now we're talking. All right, buddy.
Thanks,
hey,
John.
folks, we're going to take a small break. We come back a whole lot more right here on Gun Sports Radio, AM 1170. The Answer.
I knew I liked that guy.
Hey, welcome back. Gun Sports Radio, show 55. Get out and shoot with some friends, folks. Hey, this segment is brought to you by Zombie Industries. Don't shoot at any old boring paper targets. Go for the real deal, reactive targets. These things will bleed. Skeets holding zombie targets and other fun targets. Just go to www.zombieindustries.com, zombieindustries.com. Then you can take a look at their whole display. And when you see the trophy or the targets, and they could be trophies. Once you shoot them and they bleed, you put some tape on them. You'll seal it up. You can shoot them again and again and again and again and again and again. So it's a lot of fun for the whole family. I have one hanging on my wall as we enter my house. It is a deterrent because that thing is ugly and scary. All right. Well, hey, guess what, folks? Hollywood is in the house. Gun Range San Diego. We want to thank Gun Range San Diego for all their support. They've been with us since day one, 7853 Balboa Avenue, San Diego 92111, 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Just go to gunrangesandiego.com because if I told you everything that they had to offer you, we wouldn't have any time to talk.
Yeah, we don't have enough shows.
None whatsoever. Nordstrom's of gun ranges. I'm telling you, folks, you just need to take a run down there. Right now we got Joe Holyfield, commonly known as Hollywood, in the house. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. And, you asked John a question in the last segment, are we ever going to win this thing? And the only way we are going to win this thing is by people getting involved and, because once they start taking our Second Amendment, what's to stop them from violating our Fourth, illegal seizure, and what's going to stop them from taking our First and telling us, we can't assemble, publicly, that kind of thing. So the best way for us to win this is to get involved, and there's power in numbers, and the best thing you do is join San Diego County Gun Owners or a like organization. They do a lot of good for us. Speaking of some good they do for us, they had the Santee City Council write the letter to Sheriff Gore about the CCW, and then Councilman Rob McNeilius wrote an op-ed article, and he had some pretty interesting things to say in there. And I'm reading right out of the article here. It says, regarding serious felonies in process, such as homicide, kidnapping, rape, armed robbery, residential burglary, it occurs approximately every 9.5 minutes in San Diego County. Every 9.5 minutes, something like that's happening. And you think that, self-defense isn't a good enough reason to get your, to have a CCW. So just, I know we live in a paradise, but these things are happening, and and if you want to be able to protect yourself or have a loved one be able to protect themselves, you gotta get involved and things like that. But getting back to the Gun Range San Diego, I'm wearing my Vortex Optics T-shirt today because we are now a full-fledged Vortex Optics dealer, and they have the best.
What is it?
Well, it's whether you want a red dot, a glass scope, magnifiers.
They're target.
Well, they're scopes.
Scopes.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh,
you didn't bring a scope in, but you brought a free T-shirt.
Exactly. I brought my T-shirt in.
Well, guess what, folks? He's got a new shirt now, so he'll be able to go out with Lance to dinner now.
Nice, baby.
Speaking of Lance, we got to get this. We got to get this thing live during the shows. He gets he's all quiet during the show, and then he gets riled up in the breaks.
Then he doesn't want to stop talking when we're leaving. I don't know. I got him on backwards.
No, we just became a full-fledged Vortex dealer, so we're under MSRP. So it's actually cheaper to come buy it from us than it is to buy it online.
Has anybody told you you're supposed to make money on these products?
Well,
lose money?
It's about volume. It's about volume. So we want to sell to everybody.
Okay.
And they have the greatest warranty out there. You drop your rifle and bust your glass. I mean, it's pretty durable, so I doubt that happens anyway. But if that happens, send it in. They'll send you a new one.
So all those people that bought the ARs last year, remember before the whole December January deal, they should be loading up now on these Vortex.
Absolutely. And they make one called the Strike Eagle. Has an illuminated reticle. That's what I have on my 3-gun AR, my LWRC.
Okay. Did you bring that in?
I will next week.
Oh, you brought that stupid shirt.
and but they have hunting scopes, tactical scopes, red dots, magnifiers, holographic sights. I mean, you name it, something that can go on a rifle for whatever purpose. They have it, and we carry it.
What's a common one for like an AR?
That's called their Strike Eagle.
Okay.
They have two variants. One that goes from 1 power to 6 power. One that goes from 2 power to 8 power. And they run about $429. And with the illuminated reticle, they're crystal clear, very very clean glass, and they're wonderful.
How about versus like an EOTech?
Yeah, which is $589, and it's a holographic sight.
Oh my
Well,
gosh!
let me ask a dummy question. Okay,
Yeah.
so I've got a gun and I need a scope. How many scopes are available? How do I know which scope do I want? Do I need a blue dot, red dot, green dot?
Exactly. You bring your firearm down to Gun Range San Diego and talk to one of the guys behind the counter.
And tell us what I'm going to do with it.
Right. Say, and people come in and say, I need this. And then they get confused. Well, not confused, but they're
they
surprised.
do, 'cause they don't know.
Well, they're surprised when we ask them 15 questions.
Yeah.
They come in to ask us questions.
Right.
So,
They really should bring it.
Right.
Yeah, they really should
down,
bring it.
and then we can help you.
Because you know what kind of rail system they have.
From what you want to do now and where you want to be doing in the future. And we're going to help you make the best decision within your budget for what you need.
Right. Because, all the guns I know we're restricted on guns, but you got a lot of guns still.
Right.
Down at Gun Range
Well, and
San
then
Diego.
there's no rifle. There are no rifles on the
Right. Well, not today.
The roster, right?
Not today.
Though we do have Vortex does offer handgun sites as well.
Yeah.
But if you have that rifle and you're curious, hey, I want to do this for hunting, or I want to do this for target shooting, or I want to get into competition. There's not one scope that does all of those things.
Right.
We can help you decide on which one is going to work better for what you got.
Yeah.
Your caliber makes a difference. What caliber it is, makes a difference on what scope you should get.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, your barrel length even makes a difference between scope A and scope B.
And is your gun or your firearm going to be balanced once you put that on? Maybe you put one on too big, too small.
Right? Yeah. Because scopes have reticles, and depends on if you the size of your barrel nut and that kind of thing. They may not be compatible. And we do it all the time. Guys come in, they order this gun, they order this scope, and they get it all, and then they bring it to us, and I can't get this to fit. I can't get it to work. Well, because your end reticle is too big for your rifle.
Right.
Now and then there's options you can do. So now either you got to get really high scope rings, which means you're not going to get any cheek weld when you're trying to sight your rifle in. So it's really better to come down there, bring your firearm down, and we can help you decide exactly what you need to put on there.
Right.
And when would someone put a scope on a pistol?
Well, if it's something, I've seen them on Desert Eagles.
Yeah.
Then you have the Ruger 44 Mag, the 454 Casull, the Smith & Wesson 500. And a lot of guys do that when they go out as backup or as a primary hog hunting or something like that firearm.
Okay.
Yeah,
but that's going to be farther than 30 yards or something like
that.
Right,
yeah.
20 yards.
Out in South Carolina, I used to go, and when I would hunt in Tulsa, there were guys that would hunt boar out of a tree stand with a revolver.
Okay.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And they would
put
have
a scope on it.
They put a scope.
That's
on
pretty
it,
cool.
That's pretty cool.
Go ahead, make
yeah.
And I've seen people try to put a pistol scope on a rifle and vice versa. But you got to have the right scope because there's this thing called eye relief, and that is the distance from your eyeball to the front of the glass. And pistol scopes have a much longer.
He passed the test to get the free shirt.
I know,
Can you tell? He's throwing out that jargon.
Let me tell you, he's got.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it.
Yeah, well,
Good
see,
job,
that's the
baby.
difference
Good
between a
job.
Marine and an Army guy.
knows
See,
that
I just
stuff.
weld it on.
I really
If it
I like
didn't
that.
fit, just weld it on. It'll get on there and work just
That's
fine.
right.
Might be a little crooked. You might have to adjust accordingly. But, this industry is so immense, really, when you come right down to it.
Right.
You really need to find a good group of people you can go talk to. And I know it's a commercial for Gun Range San Diego. You can go down there and you can sit down and talk to them about anything and everything you want to do about the gun industry. And if they have an answer or they're going to have an answer.
We were down there this morning, and a gentleman came in, and he was looking for a shotgun. Wasn't really sure which one he wanted. And Ari was in there, and Ari worked with that guy, I'm guessing about an hour and 15 minutes, just doing nothing. But, before they even got to talking about paperwork or anything like that, and Ari was pulling up things offline that, things that maybe we didn't have in the store but were possibilities.
Wow, that's cool.
And then, putting different styles of shotguns in this guy's arm and helping him, understand, how to use it and that
See
kind
which
of thing.
fits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the guy left. He purchased a Remington 870 before, when it was all said and done, and got a great price on it. $399.
Wow.
And but I was pretty proud to be associated with Gun Range San Diego this morning because. What other stores can you go into and have one guy give you over an hour worth of attention?
No.
Name another gun store that does
that's
that.
really cool.
They're like, no, if you don't know, then you got to move on so I can help somebody else.
Yeah, because I don't have time for you. I'm trying to make my commission.
Right. And Ari worked with that dude for a little over an hour this morning. And I tell you, it did make me proud to be part of the Gun Range San Diego family.
But now that guy's going to go around and tell 37 people, hey, man, you're not going to believe it. I went down just to buy a shotgun, and, dude, this guy had me for an hour. And you know what? I think I got the best shotgun I could have ever gotten for myself. And that's really the key. I don't care if you're buying a car, refrigerator, or you're buying financial services.
And that guy talked to a lot of people, and he's going to talk to a lot more.
I hope so.
Absolutely. That's really cool.
That's a great, warm and fuzzy story.
Well, when he's talking to them, he can let them know that we have 15% off all Pelican cases in the store.
Okay.
We got the M85 Protector still on sale. You got 10 days left on the Smith & Wesson M&P rebate program and the Springfield Gear Up program. And just want to say thank you so much to San Diego County gun owners and the Young Republicans for our great success yesterday at ATF night.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Had a good time, huh?
Oh, yeah. It was great. And it was inspiring to see all of these.
Young kids?
Yeah, well, I ain't going to say kids, but under 35.
To you,
under
they're
30.
kids.
Yeah, you're right.
I had an 80-year-old.
Not an 80-year-old?
Fred Schnabelt. You know, Fred, he was a politician here in San Diego a million years. A great guy. I've only talked to him on Facebook, and actually he was one of my people. Great guy.
How about
Super
that?
guy.
You know who else came down with Duncan Hunter? Who
I missed him.
And he came down, and he came out to our event we had for the fundraiser.
The high dive.
The high dive, yeah. And I got to tell you, every time I meet this guy,
he's amazing.
He is amazing, and man, he gets my vote every time.
That's right.
And
whether he's running or not.
Exactly. Hey, having that guy represent you feel good because he loves
You ever meet his dad?
I haven't.
His dad's just as amazing.
Oh, is he?
All right, let's take a quick
He's
break.
a former Marine, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Not as good as the Army, but it's close. All right, folks.
Make water.
You're listening. I was hoping. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio right here on AM 1170. We are the answer. Welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio right here on AM 1170. The answer. We want to thank Zombie Industries for all their support, home of the famous zombie targets, skeet holding zombie targets, and other fun targets. It's time to have fun. Get yours. Get one for your friends or family members. Make for a great present. What the heck? www.zombieindustries.com. If you got somebody that you have a hard time buying for, zombieindustries.com. They got all kinds of fun stuff for you.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, we're waiting for Brian Jones to call in. He's the CNT City Council.
If you really want to see those zombie targets splatter, you got to hit it with a 45.
Does it really go?
Yeah, it hits really good. And you can come down to Gun Range San Diego and get 1,000 rounds of 45 for $375.
Really?
Can't beat that.
That's super cheap.
I was doing an event up at Carlsbad, Palomar Airport, and I'm sitting there talking to the pilot, and I think his name was Tim. Is it Tim? Anyway, and I gave him my card, and I told him all about you and everything, and he wanted to know if you shipped ammo.
We can ship
like if he buys that.
Absolutely, any price.
Well, I didn't know, so I told him to listen in.
Yeah, we can. And of course, he'd have to pay the shipping.
Right. Well, yeah.
But he better do it, before
when's the deadline?
July of next year, because then you have to buy it face to face. You can't no more shipping to your door.
Yeah, really.
You have to
buy it face to face. Physically come get it. Fill out all the paperwork. They're not going to do
exactly. Yeah, they're keeping a California database.
That's all it is. It's just a database.
And I have no idea what they think this is going to do, or
they don't either.
Yeah,
I don't think they know either.
It has nothing to do with safety. It has to do with gun control.
Yeah,
well, and you want to think about in the future too, because what's going to come from the only reason to register and regulate that stuff is to ration that stuff.
Right.
Because later someone's going to say, well, why do you need more than 100 rounds a month? Nobody needs more than 100 rounds a month.
Right.
That's the real danger. That's the thing to watch out for.
Well, and I don't like databases. I don't like the fact that they're collecting all these, all this information, because it can't be for any good. They're not going to send you a free box of ammo.
No, as Joe was saying too, it doesn't affect crime. Criminals don't buy ammunition that way.
No.
And it doesn't affect safety. It affects us.
I think we were talking during the break about, the puck is gone the other way now.
Mm-hmm.
I think all these politicians are, with this old stuff about regulating guns or regulating bullets, all the rest of that stuff. The criminals now are doing what? They're gunning down people like in San Bernardino. They're driving cars over. They're driving semis over them.
So
and all this kind of
keys.
stuff.
I want the keys to your Challenger
And the Hellcat. Yeah,
I want the Hellcat keys because it's way too dangerous.
No doubt, man.
And it's way too purple.
Yeah.
And if you think that's a joke, folks, it's not. It is not a joke because these people are crazy. And they're going to do it's got to be driving them crazy that all of these terrible, terrible, heinous murders are happening with vehicles and not guns. It's got to be driving them crazy.
Look at the guy on London Bridge. He hopped out of his van and stabbed how many people?
Yeah, in London.
So, I mean, it's just totally. So if you're not prepared and protected, and I got to tell you, so I get home early the other day. I go into the garage. I come walking in. She doesn't know who I am. She thought I was out collecting checks. I go, "You're not ready?" She goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I says, "Well, I could have been a thug. I could have been." And she went, "You're absolutely right." I go, "It's not like we don't have things around the house."
That's a pretty common way, actually, when you just get out of your car, you're in San Diego County, San Diego City, anywhere, and you get out of the car, go in the garage or go to your front door, and then someone comes up to you and say, "Hey, man, have you seen my pit bull?" And then someone comes behind, from behind you. It's very common.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So
I'm just saying, every 9.5 minutes.
Every 9.5. That's just disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. We live in paradise. I mean, love it. Love San Diego. But, I mean, that's a very scary statistic.
Well, just a sobering thought based on what Joe just said, every 9.5 minutes. While we've been sitting here talking the last hour, that's happened to, 5 people somewhere in the county while we've been sitting here.
And that's affected 5 lives, 5 families. I mean, it's just like dropping a pebble in a pond. But what makes me crazy is nobody gets concerned until it happens to them or in their circle.
Yeah.
And but why be reactive? Why not be proactive?
Well, that's exactly the way Gore is. That's why he's saying, his self-defense isn't a good enough reason. It's not justified for concealed weapons unless you've already been raped or unless you've already been assaulted or you have a restraining order against somebody. Then come see me.
But what if something happens to his family? What's he going to do? Change his tune?
Well, he's got armed guards with him.
But not for his daughter, not for maybe his son or maybe their aunts, uncles. You know what I'm saying? It makes me crazy. I mean that it's good for the goose, but not for the gander.
Well, I bet his cousins and aunts and uncles all have their concealed weapons.
Yeah, I'm sure they do too. And I'm sure they don't have they have bodyguards as well. But the bottom line is, getting a concealed permit is one thing. You got to get trained.
Got to get trained. Absolutely.
You can't just get a license and think that you're good to go.
That's for sure.
You got to get your butt in the range, and I say in the range. I don't like going in the backcountry and shooting, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail for that. But if anything was to happen in the backcountry, you're by yourself. When you're at Gun Range San Diego, and if anything was to happen, heaven forbid, they're there. You guys are totally 100% prepared to handle any and all situations. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So, and I know shooting out in the fields and everything are fun, and I've done it. But ever since I got to know you guys and I've gotten involved with I think it's safer to do it in a range.
It's something about being in that kind of controlled environment that
makes you feel better.
Right. Just you have more confidence to actually. You can actually
just confidence.
You pay more attention to what you're doing. You're not worried about all these other distractions. So it's always nice.
Well, and also, Joe, what organization do you belong to for shooting? The competition.
Well, they're USPSA matches, so the United States Practical Shooting Association.
Yeah.
Linea de Fuego is the sector of the club up there that runs the matches at Pala.
Yeah.
And it's on the second and fourth Saturday of each month.
What's the website for that?
If you type in just the Linea de Fuego, you'll find their website. If you look at the national organization, USPSA, and then search for local chapters, you'll see Linea de Fuego as well.
Yeah. And how do you spell that, Joe? Let me hear how you rattle that out.
De Fuego.
LDF.
Yeah. LDF, exactly. I couldn't help myself.
D Fuego.
D. We got a D.
Fuego.
Anybody got an A? Anybody want an A?
And they've actually been very supportive of us, too. 2 of their board members, Dave DeZan and Dave Morris, 2 guys that I shoot with, came and did a nice presentation for some of our meetings, and they had some gear with them. They did some nice video stuff. So real good group up there.
Excellent.
Yeah, and John Batista, who's been on the show before, he does USPSA over at Gun Range San Diego the second or third Sunday of every month. And, you show up at 7 a.m. and come in and shoot.
Which pistol do you shoot when you shoot that?
I shoot with a Glock 34 is what I use, but I've shot with John. John's scary just to be. He's so quick. He's so good.
He's really good, yeah. He shoots the CZ 75 Shadow, which is an off-roster gun.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, it's an off-roster gun.
But, you also have, Lemon Grove Rod and Gun Club. You got the South Bay Rod and Gun Club.
How many clubs do we have in town?
I found a website that had a whole compilation of them. I was actually looking for them for the show. But don't forget also, there's the Rainbow Range in beautiful Rainbow, California.
Yep.
I wrote that down for you, Dave.
You
look at me.
And I think Paula, if you go out there and get it scheduled right, you can shoot, for the guys who are buying these really high, high velocity, long distance guns. Great. You can shoot 880 yards.
And you go out there and you got Harold out there. Hello, Harold. Hello. He's a great guy. Hello.
Hello.
Like, are you a member? No. Okay. $30. But he's a great guy. But you're right. You can shoot 800 yards out there, 100. You can shoot 50. It's just, I love Paolo.
And there's how you can.
It's worth the $30.
That's how you can fulfill your
nice
outdoor
outside.
shooting safely.
Right.
Versus going out
it's a lot
to
of
the
fun.
desert. No, that just never made any sense.
And BLM is changing their you can get on the BLM website and it'll tell you where you can and can't shoot. But, here in Southern California with the fire restrictions and that kind of thing.
No, you don't want to take that chance.
It's all it takes is maybe a hot piece of brass or,
that's all
or
it takes.
Spark. And,
or a bad catalytic converter.
Or a bad catalytic converter.
You burn my East County, I'll come.
Why you got to bring up old stuff?
Why are you bringing up your catalytic converter?
Because that happened on the East County. They had a bad catalytic converter for that last fire. The guys just driving down the freeway.
That wasn't
It wasn't an exploder.
That wasn't no bad catalytic converter. He threw a cigarette out the window.
But it's
catalytic converters don't do anything but they're filters.
That's what I thought. And so they're talking about that one out there.
Well, if he drove off the road, but he didn't. He was just going down the road, and they said it had a spark. It doesn't do that. I used to love it when the Highway Patrol first got their cats, and nobody told them. So they'd pull off the side of the road, to hide. Next thing you know, they got a barbecue going on in their front seat. All right. Well, hey, folks, hopefully you've enjoyed San Diego Gun Sports Radio as much as we enjoy putting it together. We really would like you to support all our sponsors, Gun Range San Diego, Zombie Industries, Trident Gunsmithing, Gatsky, Dillon, and Balance, your number one choice for lawyers in San Diego County and anywhere. CAFirearmslaw.com, 511 Tactical.
Yeah, you know what? And follow us on Facebook, too, because there's some inspiration there. Those sheriffs in Florida, they're talking about concealed carry, and so I think it's the wave of the future. So, but do look us on Facebook. Look at also our website. All
right, folks. All right, hey, well, keep the rubber side down and shiny side up, folks. Make sure you get educated right there at Gun Range San Diego. This is Gun Sports Radio Show 55 saying see ya next week.
Gun Sports Radio is sponsored by Love Radio Network.